it's this sort of paradox that racial passing, it highlights the divisions it tries to disappear. And I think that draws attention on a larger scale to how we think of race a little bit, in the sense that it is not a biological truth, it is a social construct, but it is an incredibly powerful one. And the human need to belong and all these things that this film explores, I don't know, I'm like, you can hear me sort of going round in circles with it, because you just sort of go round in circles with it. I'm still grappling with it. This is the reason why I made the movie. I'm in a kind of active grapple, and it continues.
Hello, I'm Angelique Jackson, film and media reporter at Variety, and joining me are the cast and filmmaker of Passing here at the Variety Virtual Sundance Studio. Hello, everyone. Rebecca, this, of course, is your feature directorial debut. Why did you want to premiere this film at Sundance?
It feels like the right festival for it for so many reasons. I mean, Sundance historically has supported independent films that are difficult to get made, and this is definitely one of them. I mean, it was a long road to getting this one made, and it wasn't an easy ask by any stretch of the imagination. It was, you know, a black and white period film and 4:3 and all the things that come with that, and the challenges of that, with a very nuanced and complicated subject matter. And I think Sundance champions that sort of filmmaking and interest in cinema. So I'm thrilled that we're here.
Tessa, in the film, Irene has a line about we're all passing as one thing or another. How did you, when you first read the book and this script, personally relate to this story and want to sign on?
Well, I was so struck by, as Rebecca said, just how staggering the novella is. I couldn't believe that in a slim 90-something pages, Nella was able to talk about the ways in which not just race is performative, but sexuality is performative, marriage is performative, motherhood is performative. I thought that the book is so taut, and yet it says so much, and it just really haunted me. And then I really was so awed by how Rebecca was able to really just be able to capture the sort of lightning in a bottle that is Nella's work inside of the screenplay, and to, you know, be playing with Nella's words, some of it plucked directly from the novella, some of it Rebecca's sort of flourishing on top of Nella's work. To get to play that back and forth with someone like Bill Camp is, like, you know, just exquisite. So it really has been a gift.
You know, this movie is so intimate, and the story of passing in and of itself, the concept of it is intimate. Tell me about, you know, how you personally related to this book and bringing it to the screen first.
I don't think that I really had language for passing. It was such a difficult area of conversation in my family. You know, it was a question of maybe my grandfather, maybe his parents, maybe this, maybe that, maybe it was something else, we don't really know. It wasn't framed as this choice, and I don't think I understood it to be such a sort of historical, the truth of it, until I read the book. And then I had a context for it that made sense and slotted everything together in relation to all of the snippets of information I had about my family. Obviously, I present as white. I have no experience of going through the world as a Black person, but I have experience of what it is to be raised by people who are raised by people who have made choices that are configured by living within a racist framework and historically. Yeah. And that has an effect. And I suppose this book managed to unpack something in me, in my relationship to how I think of my own identity, how I think of going through the world, how I want to be, how I feel. And it also embraces nuance and paradox, which I feel I'm just a sort of walking example of. And I felt that so strongly, that the complication and nuance in this book, and I loved it. And I loved its potential for poetry. So I just wanted to make it a film for a really long time.
Myself and Rebecca met up in New York, and you know, she said she was adapting this book, and I had read the book, and I fell completely in love with it and haunted by it. And I just said, yeah, absolutely. Whenever you do it, I'm there. You know, I was so beguiled by Claire and her refusal to let her light be dimmed, really, and that she has experienced so much loss, but the world hasn't managed to disappear her vibrancy. And I think she has this sort of beautiful stubbornness about her that sort of refuses that. She refuses stricture, despite having to choose passing as a way of life for survival. She really, really does try to live with every bit of herself. And I found that really extraordinary. And I thought, gosh, that's how I want to live. And that's how I think we should all be striving to live. And I think Rebecca captured that so beautifully.
I think for me, the part of it that I most closely attach myself to, especially in relation to Brian, is his sense of restlessness and that sense of longing to live a life that's free and full, devoid of sort of, you know, the trappings of colorism and race and so on. He wants more than he has access to. And so that was something that was really meaningful to me. And then obviously to get an opportunity to support Tessa and Ruth and Rebecca, who are such amazing artists, was something that was really important to me as well.
I think that our film is talking not just about the ways in which race is a construction, but the ways in which we pass for all sorts of things in our lives. To me, that was sort of the most compelling thing, both about Nella's work in this, Nella Larson's work, and also what Rebecca was able to do in the adaptation. That being said, I think, you know, the colorism where it exists in Hollywood is something I think often about. I'm obviously helped by that. You know, I'm not a person that can pass. I don't think at all. I don't consider myself white passing. I'm very happily, very clearly, I think, a woman of color, more specifically a Black woman, but I'm certainly a fair-skinned Black woman. And I know that because of that, women like me are afforded more opportunities inside of Hollywood. And that's just true. And I think I'm trying to unpack that and realize the ways in which I've, you know, am a part of that and do what I can in being really conscientious about the frames and spaces that I occupy and the implication of that. That's something that I think earlier in my career, I just didn't have I didn't understand enough, frankly. We shot in black and white for a number of reasons, but one was to take out the idea of complexion, actually. And so there was great freedom. And the truth is, if we hadn't shot in that way, I probably wouldn't be in this movie, you know, because I wouldn't have been suited for what the role requires in a certain way. And so I think I'm not sure that if, you know, we want to have a robust conversation around passing inside of this industry, that it begins and ends with our film, not at all. But I will say that something that I feel grateful for is that we could make a film. I think this film could have been made in any time, but the truth is there weren't so many narratives that center Black women in general, never mind, you know, light-skinned Black women, dark-skinned Black women. And I think sometimes the conversation around colorism in particular is just because we're not lensed enough, right? And so then when all we see is fair-skinned actresses on our screen, of course it's a problem. And so we just need more room. I think there should not be a scarcity. We should all be able to exist. And again, this is like a continued conversation that I'm continuing to unpack, and grateful for the question, because I think something that happens is it's just not talked about enough, and we just have to be talking about it enough, you know, more and more and more.